Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. As always, I am Illeagle 86 and I am joined by my fantastic friends, Nerdbomber and Techtic. We are here today to talk about various things in the nerd culture world. I want to come in hot right out of the gate. Okay, can you say it for me? Because I still can't, like, is it Tudum? Tudum?
You just make the Netflix sound.
Tudum.
Like, you don't say the word, just make the Netflix sound. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I understand the gist. Yeah, well, let me be clear. I didn't understand the gist until you guys explained it to me about, 10 minutes before we started airing. Perhaps for that reason and relatedly, I hate it.
Were you trying to figure out, did you think it was an acronym and you were trying to figure out what each letter meant?
100% thought it was an acronym and was trying to figure out what the letters meant at one point. But it was one of those things where I was like, what does this stand for? And then I was like, I don't really care. Like, I didn't even know it was Netflix associated until I did some reading on it. There was like a hashtag Tudum on Twitter, and I was like, I wonder what that is. That was like, to me, that makes it a bad name for a showcase or a convention, or I guess whatever it is you would call Tudum.
They should have called it like Netflix Con or something like that, or Netflix Presents or Netflix Events or something like that.
Right. Because even like, when we talked about a couple weeks ago, we talked about D23. I had to ask what D23 meant. But I still know that it's Disney associated. So that alone, I think, put me in a reasonable place. So this, I can't even associate Netflix with it. There was a lot rolled out in the Tudum showcase. It's never going to feel good for me saying that. So just get ready for a lot of hesitations and pauses as I roll through that. We're going to be talking about that today. A lot of the things that were revealed. We're going to be focusing a little bit more on the newly revealed content that is not like new season of this show that none of us have seen, or like, stuff like that.
Or even like new seasons of shows that we have seen, because I feel like you kind of know if you like a show.
You know what the gist is.
Yeah.
Right.
And like there was nothing that was for all of like the new kind of season stuff, because I watched a few of those and like it didn't seem groundbreaking. It was like maybe a snippet or a scene, but it wasn't like a full-blown trailer for anything.
We'll get into it. There's a lot of things that are particularly interesting. We're going to be talking about a sequel, which I'm really excited about, but we're not going to be focusing too much on second seasons of shows or anything like that. We're also going to be talking about Logitech's new handheld cloud gaming console, which will launch this October. More of the details on that to come. That being officially announced after some images were leaked a few weeks back. And then, of course, we are also going to be talking about Techtic and I's favorite superhero. Is that fair to say, Techtic? I don't want to assume. I think Iron Man's probably my favorite superhero, but is that
Iron Man is my favorite
well?
superhero, and I don't think he should be yours, but that's a conversation for another day. To me,
you don't get to tell people what their favorites are.
But we fought about this before.
Your personality
jives
with Spider-Man. Just be Spider-Man. Just like be Spider-Man.
I'm willing to be Spider-Man, but at this point, it should be clear for the people who listen to the show on a regular basis that I'm a little bit contrarian, and you wanting me to not be an Iron Man fan just makes me want to be an Iron Man fan, like, harder.
Okay, yeah, you can be fine. All right, fine, yeah. You can be number 2 fan, that's fine.
You don't actually, if we're going based on like personality type, I think you are more Ant-Man than Iron Man. So how do you feel about that? Because you have like that quirky humor, and Tony Stark is not a very like funny person. Not saying that Illeagle's not funny, but like...
Oh, I'm not funny.
You're more like Ant-Man humor. You're more of a Paul Rudd.
Am I that Spider-Man-y? I would say you're more Spider-Man-y than me. This is an interesting conversation. This should be maybe a secret segment.
All right, let's put a pin in this. You guys aren't even going to hear my rebuttal. This is secret segment to align who we are in the MCU, and that's it. We'll put a pin in it.
I'm not Spider-Man. I just want to. I want to just end. I want to get the last word. In other words, and I want to say I don't think I'm Spider-Man. We're going to be talking about an Iron Man video game. We're not going to be talking about Iron Man. That would not be very interesting because there's, everybody knows who Iron Man is. An Iron Man video game was just announced that we're going to be talking about. And in fact, why don't we lead off with that? I think that feels like, I feel like we're already, the juices are flowing, superheroes. So why don't we just get into that? Marvel Entertainment and Motive Studio. Now, Motive Studio, one thing you may know them for is the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, which I know you guys have some recent experience with, at least. I know Nerdbomber, you do.
It is amazing.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a minute. But also Star Wars Squadrons, which I played like a quarter of it, and then I didn't finish it. So I don't know if I want to draw any parallels between the two things, because it sounds like there's going to be something very different. But essentially, they've announced an all-new Iron Man video game, single player, third person action adventure. Those are really the things that we know about it. I mean, I'll quote here: the game will feature an original narrative that taps into the rich history of Iron Man, channeling the complexity, charisma, and creative genius of Tony Stark, and enabling players to feel what it's like to truly play as Iron Man. This is directly from EA's website, for what it's worth. I take very little away from that, other than the fact that it's third person, which I think is the correct choice.
I don't think you could fly if you're in first person. I feel like it would be very jarring. Like, my only context with a game where you fly in the first person is like a Call of Duty jetpack thing, but that's so short burst sort of flying. I don't know if you're like zooming around the city. I don't know how that would work in first person. So I agree, like third person is the best choice for this.
Yeah, and there was I believe, I have to Google around to check on this. There was a movie tie-in game back in 2008 when the movie came out. That was third person. And I played,
yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
And it was
and I played
good.
the demo for it. Yeah, I only played the demo for it on the 360, but I remember thinking, this is pretty good. And then I never played the full thing. But, otherwise, what have we gotten as far as Iron Man video games go? We've gotten
Ultimate Alliance,
the VR experience.
And the VR experience.
And Avengers as well. But I don't know that we've gotten any flagship Iron Man game that has truly made waves in the way that I think Guardians of the Galaxy did. And this is where I swing it over to you, Nerdbomber. I mean, you have probably the strongest body of recent experience with Motive. I will soon have a strong body of experience with them as well, because they are also working on the Dead Space remake. But what is your level of hope and excitement, I guess, for a Motive Studio-driven Iron Man game?
So I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy was actually Square Enix, and I believe it's just the producer of that game who came over, but assuming that the producer is going to try to make it very akin to the Guardians game that he just, worked on. I want to see in-depth storytelling, because I think one of Guardians' biggest pluses, like the gameplay was fun, but I think where it shined the most was in its storytelling, and the fact that it was able to do a really good job kind of separating the video game Guardians of the Galaxies from the Marvel MCU version of it. And they did a really good job, like giving them their own backstories and kind of helping them stand alone. So when you were looking at Star-Lord, you weren't like, oh, why isn't this lining up with the Chris Pratt version that I know? It was something that it was kind of like new and did a really good job even explaining the characters' relationships and how they grew as a team. So I think if you focus on story and lean into like a comic story beat instead of trying to even do any tertiary tie-in to the movies, I think that's primarily what I want to see. Because we know from like a technical gameplay standpoint, EA, Square, like those studios and like the producer, they know how to make a technically good game. It's, bringing it all together and making it fun. That said, like flying, I have so much hesitation with flying. Yeah. And how that's implemented is really going to like impact, I think, the fun factor for me. So that'll be interesting, because I don't really love flying in games that much, but I'll suffer through it if there's a good story.
It's a challenging mechanic, and it's undoubtedly crucial to the success of this game. I agree with everything you said, and I touching on what you said about Guardians of the Galaxy did not have Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, essentially. Like, I want to focus on the one visual that we have here, which EA does have essentially a picture of Iron Man in what I will call purposefully low light. So we don't see a whole lot of detail.
You can get a little hint of the art style. That it's right. Not going to be this uncanny valley, realistic trying to look thing. That it's going to look like a little bit cartoony, animated, but like honestly similar like to the Guardians of the Galaxy, where it looks good and it fits. It doesn't make you uncomfortable.
Well, even like what they did, if you look at all of the best and most successful comic book adaptations, like you even take a look at Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I think those also did really well because they completely separated themselves from the MCU. And like, it wasn't like it didn't look photorealistic, because I mean, the character models did look very realistic, but like they weren't pretending like they were going to try to link it in. Like the Avengers game, which was just a disaster because it was just close enough, but not quite there.
One thing I am curious about is it said that it's going to delve into the rich history of Iron Man. And I'm curious if that statement is alluding to kind of where the story starts, or rather just in reference to the overall lore. And like, so similar to the Spider-Man games, like the first one where you're studying with Dr. Octavius, are we going to start 15 years old at MIT? where is the start off of where you get introduced to Tony Stark's life and kind of how he progressed and became who he was? Or is it going to be he's already got his powers and became something more? And I'm just really interested to see.
Right. Well, I think, and Spider-Man is definitely the gold standard, for me at least. It's the gold standard of how you make a superhero video game these days. And if I recall correctly, Spider-Man jumps you right in. There's no origin story. You're already Spider-Man, essentially, which I think is the approach they should take here, because the more you do an origin story, the more you're going to draw comparisons with other things, which again, I think they should be trying to avoid. And it's interesting mental ground to be on. I don't know why I can so much more easily play the Spider-Man video game and not be constantly drawing comparisons to movie characters or movie likenesses the way that I was just watching the Avengers trailer.
I want to disagree with you for a second. In the Spider-Man games, if you do origin stories, it does draw you to the movies because we got the Spider-Man origin story over and over and over. With Tony Stark, it was basically, it opened up, he's in war, he's showing missiles, and that's it. It didn't really go back further to, he was a genius child. His father was Howard Stark. But
how do you play that? Aside from like a cutscene, how do you play that?
And the other thing you're leaving out is
puzzles.
That he was a dick during that time.
Yeah.
That's not fun. Like, he was notably an egotistical, not nice person.
And he became a egotistical
nice person.
kind of
with
nice
a super
person.
suit.
Could you just imagine the first half of the game, you have dialogue options, and instead of having your standard nice option and mean option, it's all just dick options.
You get Paragon based on your choices.
It's just mean and horrifying. Those are the two choices. Yeah, I think you're right that delving into the comic book lore, I mean, Iron Man is one of those things, there's probably so much untapped comic potential that we don't, well, Techtic, I'm sure you know about it, but I do not know about it. And that's what makes me the number 2 Iron Man fan on this podcast.
Well, another thing that they could do is the other side of things. There's versions of Iron Man where he becomes completely corrupt. If you have a moment, look into the Superior Iron Man comics. It's awesome. But there's that take on it. There's just so many different types of ways that they can go about this, because the lore is just so rich and vast. There's even the protege aspect of, can you play as Ironheart? Can you play as Iron Lad? There's very different spin-offs or DLC that they can really push this to. And it's going back to the visual too, I definitely do like what we're seeing. You look at it and right away that it's Iron Man, but it's different enough, the eye shape is similar, but it looks like they're kind of set into the helmet in a different way. The arc reactor shape it's not a circle, nor is it a triangle. It's a diamond, which I don't know, in the MCU, did he ever have a diamond? That feels like a very purposeful choice in this concept. He had a triangle at one point. I don't think he had a diamond.
Yeah, it went circle, and then it went triangle very quickly, and I think it stayed triangle for the rest of it, I believe. But someone can fact check me on that on Twitter at OWLeal86. This is gonna be good, I think. I hope it doesn't distract them too much from their development of Dead Space. But they're a big company. I think they probably know what they're doing. So no release date yet on this. Obviously very, very fresh. They're basically just saying we're working on this, and actually, this article that they released about it says, hey, check out the open positions on our website. So they're recruiting people to help work on this game. So it's clearly in very early stages of development. So I'm sure we will hear more soon, but that's all for now, folks. Let's move into the main event, which is Tudum.
Tudum.
Okay, it felt a little bit better that time. I think the way we can go about this, again, kind of considering how much of this is season 4 of the manifest or things like that we just really have no basis for discussing. We can kind of go around and each pick one thing to start and see where that takes us. I want to, in my mind, steal the best thing. And that's my right as the driver of this podcast boat. So you guys are gonna have to deal with that. I know that all 3 of us watched Enola Holmes, or as Nerdbomber put it in our group chat, Ebola Holmes, which I would like to see that too. Let me start by
saying
that.
My autocorrect was very crazy. I think at one point I also called Gal Gadot, Gal something. I don't even know.
Gal Gator. I believe it was Gal Gator. Let me check the tape. It was, there was Ebola Holmes, and then Let's see. I'm scrolling. This is good content for the list. Yeah, Gal Gator. So we'll probably talk about Gal Gator in a minute, but I want to start with Enola Holmes. Enola Holmes 2 got a trailer. This was, a full 2-minute, here's what's going on trailer. And Millie Bobby Brown returning as the title character, Henry Cavill returning as Sherlock Holmes. It looks like there's 2 mysteries going on at once, which, it's better than 1 mystery in a movie, 2 mysteries.
Well, that's why it's called Enola Holmes 2.
Right.
In teeny tiny parentheses that you can't see, there's mysteries at the end.
I'm all in on this. In the trailer, too, there's a lot of fourth wall breaking, which I think was one of the great things about the first movie. The first movie, I don't want to sit here and say that it was the greatest thing in the world, because I'm sure I didn't when I talked about it last time on the podcast, but it definitely caught my attention, and it was at minimum a cute and fun experience, and something that I think we also all agreed when we talked about it that was probably a franchise starter. And lo and behold,
here's the franchise.
Yeah, we're going to get more of it. And I think that's a good decision. I'm also like a Sherlock Holmes fan in general. So anything that's even tangentially Sherlock Holmes, I'm very into. So
I'm interested to see, because it seems like Sherlock Holmes is going to have a little bit more hands-on part of a role in this movie. I think in the first one, he was like there, but he wasn't totally involved in an investigation or anything. He was just kind of like
passenger.
Yeah, he was kind of like orbiting Enola Holmes. And it seems like in this movie, at least based on this trailer, they're going to end up working together, or at least working on similar / maybe overlapping mysteries and run into each other a lot. And I'm interested to see, because they're both very big characters, and I don't want to take away necessarily from Enola Holmes. That's kind of my one big fear, because we've had Sherlock Holmes. I kind of want to see an Enola Holmes take.
I couldn't agree more. This needs to be done very carefully to make sure that she remains the star of the show. Because Henry, you're great, we love you, but
you're everywhere.
You're not Enola.
I'm not sure and I probably brought this up last time when we talked about the movie. We'd have to go back and check the tape. But I actually don't think Henry Cavill is a great Sherlock Holmes. I don't think he's the correct choice. If you read about Sherlock Holmes, he is a pasty, malnourished, cocaine-addicted person for a lot of his stories.
And he doesn't
you like Robert Downey Jr. then?
Wow.
I did love Robert Downey Jr. actually. Not that Robert Downey Jr. is, really any of those things, but he's also not Henry Cavill. He doesn't look like the most polished and trim fit individual in the world.
Well, also isn't Sherlock Holmes supposed to be quirky? And to me, this iteration of Sherlock Holmes just feels a little stuffy. I don't know if he's very well regarded, obviously, but he's very stuffy. He doesn't seem as kind of quirky and out there as I remember Sherlock Holmes being in other iterations, with Robert Downey Jr., or even just reading the books.
Honestly, and while we're getting down the Sherlock Holmes rabbit hole, one of the better Sherlock Holmes character adaptations is Benedict Cumberbatch on the BBC series. That is the most Sherlock Holmes. He nailed, because it's it's a quirkiness, yes, but it's almost an irritability where and it does border on stuffiness at times. So that may be why Henry Cavill is playing it the way that he is. But I just don't think he's a great Sherlock Holmes. Now, I'm not worried as much as you guys are. Even watching the trailer, I don't think there was a single scene that we saw that was not still being shown to us from her perspective. It does seem like his involvement level is going to go up, but I'm actually very interested in the exploration of that relationship, as at one point they are allies, but at various other points in the trailer, you can see that they're almost working against each other. So I think that could be interesting. I would love for it to not get in the way of the mysteries, or mysteries plural. I don't think it will. I have high hopes for it, but generally excited for that one. I'll swing it over. Did you see anything else in here that you really wanted to, that really, rustled your jimmies, so to speak? In Tudum.
One of the ones that I was actually really interested in was The Watcher. And this is a horror movie, or I think it's a limited series, not necessarily a movie. It's a limited series. And it's basically this family moves into a house, and they get a letter, a creepy letter that's basically saying that, whoever wrote the letter has been assigned to watch them and watch the house and kind of become obsessed with them, and that the house wants young blood, basically implying that their kids are going to get killed in this house. And the trailer makes it spooky, they're trying to figure out who in the town might be the person sending them these letters and messing with them, and they make it seem very ominous. And there's 2 things that kind of draw me to this, even though I don't like scary things. One is that the scariest movie that I think I've ever seen in my life is The Strangers, and that is because it was based off a true story. Well, apparently, this movie or limited series, The Watcher, is also based off a true story. And like, those are the things that freak me out the most when it's just like crazy people in real life doing things to terrorize people. That is just like bone chilling to me. So there's that. Yeah. But also the cast is like very, very high profile, amazing. Cast. So that's another thing that's kind of drawing me to this, even though I don't typically like scary things. So I'll probably end up watching this. I will regret it and not want to be home by myself ever after watching it. Yeah. But I feel like I will probably end up watching this just because this is the kind of like, this is the creepy stuff that gets under my skin. And it's kind of like true crime stuff. And I can't look away. So.
Yeah. So I think the lead, Bobby Cannavale, is amazing. He was just in a show called Nine Perfect Strangers, which I think I talked about, and the show itself was pretty middling, but he was amazing in that show. I think he's generally a very good actor that a lot of people are sleeping on. Richard Kind is also in this. Margot Martindale from Dexter, who I loved, is in this. I think that this is going to be interesting. I did actually watch, I think it was BuzzFeed. I can't remember if it was BuzzFeed Unsolved or BuzzFeed Supernatural, probably Unsolved, considering what it is. But they had a video about this, because this is a very true story. I think we mentioned that already, but this happened to people. So I agree. I think that makes it scarier, and I'm definitely invested in this. And I know you're the way you are about it, Nerdbomber, but here in this house, we are a scary thriller stuff household. So this is going to be watched probably as soon as it comes out. Honestly, October 13th is when this comes out, and that's going to happen. Speaking of which, I don't know if we ever mentioned the release date of Enola Holmes 2. That might be because we don't have one yet. If we do, I can't see it here, so it's coming out at some point. Techtic, anything to say about The Watcher or anything else you want to mention?
I know
what
we're
you
not
want
a
your
spooky
thing
house,
to be.
but anything related on true events, I just love watching, because then I can go, okay, this is what we're going to do to our security system now.
Right, you'll learn some stuff. I mean, granted, I think this happened in like the 80s or something, but I don't know if that's how they're.
If someone's sending you letters, I don't know how you like protect yourself against that. Like, there's really nothing you can do about creepy letters coming to your house.
Yeah, you can. You rig your mailbox.
I mean, the mailman delivers it, so what are you going to do there?
You say, don't give any of these letters, mailman. It's freaking me out.
Well, Techtic, that's some food for thought, I guess. But in the meantime, what got you going? What got your blood pumping?
So speaking of like live things and real things that are exciting to watch, I really want to watch the Redeem Team. That looks fantastic. I mean, we know how it's going to go, because obviously it happened in real life, but like to get the backstory and the commentary of it, I think it's just going to be a fun ride. Even in the little trailer that we saw with LeBron, it was just hilarious. So more of that, please. LeBron
James is, and I think, did we all see Trainwreck? Or was it just me? The Amy Schumer movie that LeBron is in it. He's in it and amazing. He's like Bill Hader's friend. He stole the movie. He was like one of the funniest parts. I think he has a lot of charisma, and I think he's the correct person to like. You want him in your sports documentary. And I agree that I think sports documentary, not that I watch very many, but like sports stories like that are interesting and get a lot of traction. And actually, one thing I watched recently, I don't know if you guys watched this. I don't know if I mentioned it on my What Are You Up To? I think it was during our hiatus, so I probably didn't. But the Manti Te'o documentary on Netflix, did you guys happen to watch that?
No, we never got around to it.
Man, that is a story. Like, that was something that happened like in 2007, like 15 years ago. And like we were of a certain age where like I wasn't paying too much attention to things that happened, for lack of a better term.
Didn't he say he had like a fake girlfriend or something? I don't remember.
I don't want to minimize Manti Te'o, but yes, essentially what happened was he had a girlfriend who turned out to be fake. And at one point, he thought she had died from cancer, I think. And he turned into this whole inspirational story that he used during his senior year at Notre Dame. And then it came out that she never existed. So it was like a really bad PR look for him. It's a really fascinating story, and it's totally unrelated to what we're talking about. I just think sports documentaries are great. The Aaron Hernandez one on Netflix, also pretty good. I don't remember what that one's called. Obviously, I'm more football interested than like basketball interested, but nonetheless, sports stories are very, very interesting things. I want to make mention of Heart of Stone, and if you'll allow me, I would like to do so in a negative light. I think this looks fine. I cannot even count how many Netflix action movies have come out that I've just been like, wow, I don't care.
I feel like this the same way I feel about Extraction and Extraction 2.
Yeah,
Like,
And that's
okay.
exactly what I was about to say. It's like they're hyping up Extraction 2 in Tudum, and I'm like, I did not see Extraction 1, and I had no interest in it, and I still don't have interest in it. So why are you making an Extraction 2?
I'm kind of glad we're all on the same wavelength here, because even I think the other one was The Mother. That was the J-Lo one. And there's also like a Noah
Yes.
Centineo show that they announced, but they didn't like have a trailer or anything. And I was just like, as I'm watching these trailers, I'm thinking to myself, it feels like Netflix spends so much money, because like your action movies like this, they have a big budget in order to do all of those stunts. And even like the Extraction 2 trailer, they were saying how in the first movie and then in the second movie, they're having these scenes where it's all one like shot. The camera just moves in this very elaborately planned way so that they never cut filming. And they're planning on like landing a helicopter on a train or something without like cutting
It's
footage.
like great, but I'm never going to see it because I don't care.
And like you pair the budget to kind of pull something like that off with your big stars, like your Gal Gadots, your Chris Hemsworth, your J-Los. Like do they make enough money off of these like massive action movies?
I don't know.
Because like they have the rom-com they also announced with Ashton Kutcher and Reese Witherspoon, and they didn't have a trailer for it, so I didn't plan on talking about it. But they announced something like that, and like that has to be such a smaller budget. And probably
I'm much more interested in that.
Yeah,
and like value, by the way.
I feel like more people end up watching those. When you look at like the top 10 when these original movies come out, like I feel like all of the like rom-coms and teen movies and all that kind of stuff kind of rise to the top. And not that the action movies don't, but like you get more bang for your buck, it feels like, for the rom-com route. I don't know.
I'm also getting to a point with these action movies, spy movies, whatever, where no one's that badass. Like no one is that badass. And like we all know that spies are really like normal looking people because they blend into society, right? You're not going to pick a spy who's 6'4", all muscle, none of that. And that's why there's like other movies in this Tudum that like, for example, and I'm sorry we're jumping all over the place, but like they clone Tyrone. Just those seem more like real people in like, well, not real situations, but those seem like more like real people in an action movie that just kind of got placed there. That's just more interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. And like, let me name some other ones for you because a bunch immediately come to mind for me. The Gray Man, Red Notice, Six Underground. I haven't seen any of them. They must cost so much money. Like they must cost an insane amount of money. And like, don't get me wrong, I love an action movie. I think I learned from a couple movies, one of them being Project Power, which I would consider at least a little bit an action movie. I learned like, all right, Netflix is not where I should be going for action movies. Like, I get that they're a legit studio now and they can make these giant movies, but like, I watched the trailer for The Gray Man and I was like, I'm just not that interested. And, this to me, I think Gal Gadot, or shall I call her Gal Gator, is great. And I think this looked pretty good, but it also felt a lot like white noise to me. It felt like very similar to most other Netflix thriller spy movies that they're kind of just peppering us with nowadays.
Well, I think
I'm
that's
glad
the
that
problem.
we're all on the same page on that.
Like, you think about your franchises, your action spy thrillers that really stand out. And I know part of it is because, like, the names behind them, like Tom Cruise is just a juggernaut at this point. But you look at your Mission Impossibles, you look at your James Bond movies, and, like, we don't have 8,000 of these tentpole spy thriller franchises. And it feels like Netflix is trying to, like, make a spy star. And they just, because they're doing so many movies with so many big
They're throwing
stars,
it at
like
the wall.
it's too much. You have to like take, instead of giving us like 15 different action movies and trying to see which one sticks the most, do one really well, like make one action star and lean into it. Make a franchise that has a story that actually matters instead of, like you said, this white noise. I don't know. It's not
And
my
you
tea.
just made me think of another one. I can't think of the name of it, but we all watched it. Charlize Theron is immortal.
Oh,
what was the name
yeah.
of that movie?
Because
That was another one that like it wasn't bad. The Old Guard, that's what it's called. The Old Guard. It wasn't bad. It wasn't that good. Like it was I don't know.
It was like
those
missing
action movies wash
something.
over me.
Yeah, it was, I can't
Yeah.
even put my finger on what was missing, but it was missing that like je ne sais quoi that sets something like a Mission Impossible or a Bourne Identity or a James Bond apart. And it just, I don't know.
Mission Impossible. I mean, there's no one doing it like Mission Impossible. And yeah, James Bond has a lot of, I don't want to say nostalgia, but there's something about James Bond that it's going to have staying power forever. And then Bourne had its heyday and kind of knew when to take an exit, at least to some extent, which I think was the correct thing. I'm glad we're all on the same page about that, because I watched that and I was like, boy, it looks like they spent a lot of money on this thing I'm never going to watch. That was kind of my overarching opinion on it. We're gonna have to move on. We're timing out here, but there's a lot obviously that we did not mention from Tudum. Among them, 1899, which I'm excited about, and I know we've talked about that in the past. All the stuff we just mentioned, even some of what we mentioned in passing. A lot of new content for The Witcher, the Blood Origin prequel, as well as the upcoming season. The upcoming seasons of a lot of shows in general. I know You is very popular, and that one had a new season teased.
I do want to make one quick point about You, is that I don't understand how he becomes a college professor, and also too many new characters. That's all I have to say.
And I do want to make one quick point about Pinocchio. What kind of woodworker would just slap bark back on its head? It looks awesome. It looks absolutely awesome. But the Pinocchio design seems strange to me.
But also, one other comment on Pinocchio, that's stop motion seems like so much work there.
It's the bum,
I think
though.
it's worth it, though.
It is. It just
it's so
seems like
worth
a
it.
lot of work, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree, but it just man, it's so cool. But yeah, what did we miss in Tudum? What did we not cover that you want us to cover? Let us know. At Online Warriors 1 is our main show account over on Twitter. I'm also at OW86. We have at OW Techtic, at OW Nerdbomber over there. Come hit us up. Let's have a conversation. In the meantime, we're going to take a short break, as we often do, or as we always do, really. But before we do, we will do something else we always do, which is shout out our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Stephen Keller. Stephen has been a producer on the show for a while now, and as a result, he gets input into the weekly game segment, which I will probably lose again this week. He also, of course, gets his producer shout out. He has an occasional guest spot on the show, which he did recently. We had a great time with him here. And of course, he gets access, to the monthly secret segment and vlog. There is also a Squire level of support, which is not quite as high as the Knight level of support on Patreon that Steven supports us at. But as a Squire, you get access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And there's also a page which gets access to the monthly secret segment. And of course, the details on all of those things can be found over at patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. Go check us out there. Say hi to us. Say hi to Steven. Consider giving back to the show and letting us keep this thing rolling on. We'll take a short break now, and we will come back to talk about Logitech's new cloud gaming system. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because we heard them advertised on other shows, and quite frankly, I wanted to see what all the hype was about, and let me tell you, the hype was real. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's quick and easy for me to toss back in the morning as I'm getting ready for work. One scoop into a glass of water helps me wake up even on tired mornings, and I know my gut and immune system will be prepped for the day. And I know what you're thinking, green drink, blech. But Athletic Greens green drink actually tastes really good. The best part is that I get all my supplements in for way cheaper than taking individual supplements themselves. It costs less than $3 a day, so you're investing in your health for cheaper than a cup of coffee. It's also a trusted product. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews and comes recommended by professional athletes and leading health experts alike. And for every purchase, you're helping to feed kids. Athletic Greens donates to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the U.S. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Thanks to Athletic Greens for helping to sponsor the show, and now we'll get back to the episode. Let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever wanted a Switch that could play games from Xbox Cloud Gaming?
I mean, yes, but not this device.
Okay, that's a good lead-in. So yeah, let me set the table, and then we can dive more into this. Logitech's G Cloud Gaming Handheld, 7-inch IPS multi-touch screen, 60 hertz refresh rate, 1920 by 1080 resolution. I mean, yeah, picture a Switch. Is that the wrong way to put this? But I mean, like it's the Switch.
Yeah, it's a Switch. It's a Steam Deck, but a lesser
It's the first
than one.
cloud gaming one, though. It's A Switch is not a cloud gaming game system.
I want to kind of stake the main thing I have to say about this, because I really don't feel any particular way about this, to be honest with you. But the one thing I would have to say, I'm guessing a lot of people are looking at this and saying the success or failure of this is all about the games library that it gives you access to. I disagree. The success or failure of this device is about the graphics and the performance. If those two things aren't very, very good, then most people who are in the target audience for this device probably already have a Switch and are probably just going to stick with that. Is that unfair characterization of what this device is bringing to the table?
I think
how I feel.
Inherently this is set up to fail. So I think this definitely would have a market, right? I think a handheld device that can allow you to play PC or console games is in the market. I mean, the Steam Deck is wildly popular. You can't even order one. I mean, it's on back order. You can be on a wait list, but you're not going to get one anytime soon. I think where this is set up to fail is that where the Steam Deck allows you to download games, you can also play it like through the browser and stuff. You can probably access all of your cloud games for $50 more. You have the ability though to not be beholden to a Wi-Fi signal. And I think this is just a very expensive device. Like this is $250, I believe, this Logitech streaming device, and $350.
Actually currently available for $300. I don't know. The end of this IGN article is very confusing. It says Logitech says the device will begin shipping in North America next month. It retails for $349, but is currently available on Amazon for $299.99.
Yeah, for $50 more than that though, like you can get a Steam Deck, or at least be waitlisted for a Steam Deck, be able to download your games, not have to worry about an internet connection. I think for me, like Xbox cloud gaming, you can access on a cell phone at this point. Aside from having a slightly larger screen, I don't know why I would invest so much money in this device over, just those little I don't remember what they're called, but they're basically like the controller that you stick your phone in and there you go. Bada boom. Well, your phone is now a portable gamepad.
You can play your Steam games on this. Steam offers a cloud gaming ability.
Right, but you're beholden to Wi-Fi. Like you can't just play offline. Like say that you're in an airplane, if your plane doesn't have Wi-Fi access, you're screwed. You can't play this. You're done.
Cloud gaming, I think partially for the reasons you're describing, it's something that I'm going to have a hard time ever trusting. Like even when they were talking about, I remember when they were talking about the Xbox Series X taking advantage of the cloud and like showing those crackdown destructible environments and everything. My first thought was, if it's not being done on the machine I'm playing on, I don't trust it. I still feel that way. I might feel that way until I try one of these things and it goes well for me. But I don't know. I don't love the idea of it being only as good as your internet connection is.
Yeah, I think for a portable device too, that is so critical. Like I could get always having to be connected in your house. Everybody, you have to download patches and everything through the internet. Like even if you buy a disc on a console day one, you put it in, you have to be connected to the internet to get all the updates and stuff. Yes. So that I understand, but like this is literally meant to be a portable device. And like if you're out camping somewhere and you want to play a video game, it becomes a brick that you can't use. Like at that point, I don't understand where it has a place. You get a Steam Deck or you get a Switch then.
Do you take your Switch camping?
I personally don't because I am terrified of breaking it, but there are a lot of people who would, and they wouldn't be able to play if they had this.
Do you take it on the subway? Do you take it on the bus? Because the answer to those questions
does not leave our house.
For a lot of people, it's Well, but I'm saying for a lot of people, they buy something like a Switch explicitly to do that.
If you have a Switch and it doesn't leave your house, and like it is always under the Wi-Fi umbrella, why would you be against something like this Logitech device?
I'm saying for most people, and I think Illeagle was saying the same thing, like we're kind of the abnormality here. I think most people do buy these handheld devices and they feel comfortable taking it with them. And especially like if you're a commuter, a lot of people take them, like you said, on the subway, you take them on the bus, a lot of these places where you might not have Wi-Fi access. And I guess I don't understand the target audience for this. Like if you are only planning on using this in your house, sure, but then you might as well just use your console. I don't quite understand the target audience for this.
I agree. I don't
want to be super negative.
Succeed.
Yeah, but I just don't get it.
So if they if they have like an SD card that you put in and gives you temporary data so that one game at a time, would you be open to it?
Yeah, I think you need to have an offline option. If you have a portable device,
SD card.
You just have to have an offline option.
Internal memory, whatever.
Agreed. I think, then you might have an in, but I just otherwise I'm not sure I trust it. Techtic, it sounds like you're in favor of this. I'm not going to ask you if you're going to go out and buy it, but as an idea, I also don't hate it because I like what the Switch does and I want more things that do what it does. But to me, this ain't it.
I'm going to save you guys if you don't want a Steam Deck, right? I'm going to save everybody. Logitech people, if you're out there, I'm very sorry. I like all of your other stuff. Like I have your webcam, I have your mice and keyboards, and I like them. But this just isn't it because you can take your cell phone and even without a controller, you can download all of these cloud apps and play on your cell phone. Additionally, if you really want to get fancy, you can 3D print if you have a 3D printer, or even go on Amazon for like $5 and buy a clip to clip your phone onto an Xbox controller and still download the app on your phone. And then you have another portable way to play on your phone without spending an additional $300 to $350 on a streaming device. So
I mean, I don't know if like that counter argument to me, I don't know if people want to be using their phone for that because it drains battery and people want to have their phone and then be gaming.
I mean, that's fair, but also get a battery pack. Now we're really getting, it's still like you can have like 18 battery packs in your backpack and it's still probably cheaper than this device. Sorry to come down so negative on this.
Descent. Yeah, I'm gonna move us along because I think I don't want to poo-poo on this thing too hard.
No, these are fair points. I mean, if you go on say Amazon to try to purchase it, literally every specification features you can do this, and this as long as you have Wi-Fi, and then you can do that, and this as long as you have Wi-Fi. So these are fair points.
So with that borne in mind, it comes out October 18th. So if you're thinking these guys are fools, I'm going to go buy this, go buy it. You can buy it right now off Amazon, $50 off apparently, and you'll have it October 18th. We're going to move into What Are You Up To Wednesday, and I feel like I've been starting a lot, so I'm going to not start, and I'm going to go ahead and swing it over to Nerdbomber to kind of open things up for us here.
All right, so Disney Dreamlight Valley. It is great. This is that game that Disney premiered a while back.
I remember. Yeah, I remember this.
It's a very like Animal Crossing-esque game. And basically you're plopped into this Disney like square, basically, where all the Disney characters used to live. But there are these dark, viney things taking over the village, and they also make everybody forget their memories. So you, for whatever reason, have the magical power to remove these viney things that even Merlin can't get rid of. And your task was basically rebuilding the town, restoring everybody's memories, finding all of the Disney characters that have left the village, because when you start the game, it's basically Merlin, Goofy, Mickey, and then Scrooge McDuck are the only people who like stuck around. So you have to basically then build up enough magic to travel to all the like individual Disney worlds and bring the characters back to the village. And it is great. I was a little skeptical. I also thought that I would be annoyed and that there would be like gotcha free to play gimmicks, because this game right now is in like early access preview, so you do have to pay for it now on most consoles. If you have Game Pass, which is how I'm playing it, it's included with Game Pass, so you're not paying anything, but eventually it will go free to play. So I assumed that there would be a lot of like timed things trying to get you to spend money, and like there is the ability to buy coins and stuff, but like I haven't found a necessity to do that yet. I think I've probably played, I don't know, maybe like 10-15 hours so far over the span of like 3 or 4 days. And it's all of the great relaxing bits of Animal Crossing, like getting rid of the bad thorns is basically pulling up weeds. You can go fishing. You can plant a garden and go around and harvest like apples off of trees, and then you can like cook. It like takes it a step further where then you cook and you like give your friends and people, meals, and you can sell that stuff. And then, Scrooge McDuck opens a store, and it's kind of like the Animal Crossing store where you can buy various furniture for your house and, trick out your house, eventually upgrade your house and make it bigger. And you can even go through and kind of like move houses and kind of redesign the village layout. And it's just, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's got all of the like the relaxing fun elements of Animal Crossing with minor story beats, because when you go to rescue or like bring back the Disney villagers, you get a little bit of the backstory. Like I had to go get Ratatouille and bring him back to my village, and I basically had to help him cook and serve up, you know, the 3-course meal to impress the food critic that was coming to his restaurant. So you get like the little Disney story beats, and it's just like fun to chat with all of the little Disney characters that you run into and fish with Goofy and get some apples from trees with Mickey and cook with Ratatouille. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I can definitely see too how they can really turn this into what Animal Crossing maybe should have been, where you could kind of milk Animal Crossing, but Nintendo did not do this, where by rolling out new content to keep you coming back over and over, like they can continuously add on different characters and worlds, and you can expand your village and have so much going on that they can, like, they have so many properties, they can probably do it forever, you know? As long as they're making new movies and properties, they can continue to expand this game. So I think it's pretty good. I'm very impressed with what I've seen so far in the game, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm worried that it's going to be like a very Animal Crossing-esque thing for me personally, though. Like, I know some people can play these type of games forever. I usually hit a stopping point where I'm like, okay, I'm done here. And so that's my only like reservation, is I feel like new content will be added later down the road, and I'm just never going to go back to it because I'll be tapped out of the game. But for the amount of time that I'm tapped into the game, I'm having a lot of fun. So if you want to wait for it to be free to play, I wouldn't blame you, but you will probably have fun when you get around to it. So there you go. That is my experience. I kind of got back into like gaming mode.
Yeah, for me, you know where I am on Animal Crossing.
You don't like it.
It sounds like I would be in I would be in much the same spot on this game, I think. It sounds great. Continue
if
enjoying.
you don't mind doing like not mindless tasks, but if you don't mind doing like mindless tasks and stuff, there's something very satisfying and relaxing about that, like checking off things off a box every day when you log into a game. Like, I don't know, it's relaxing, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, like when you put it like that, it appeals to me a little bit more, to be honest, because I'm a huge box checker in life. But I just don't know. I don't know. I think I feel like it is when I go into games, when I go into video gaming mode, I want a little bit more escapism like that, or than that. And it's not to say that that isn't capable of providing that, but it's just a different thing that I don't know that is my cup of tea. But that's what makes this a beautiful, wide world. I'm gonna steal the usual Nerdbomber Techtic 1-2 punch and use the video game talk as a transition into my latest video game venture, which I think I might have teased a couple weeks ago, because we talked about Assassin's Creed. And that's right, folks. I dusted off the Xbox 360, and I am now playing Assassin's Creed 2. And when I say dusted off, I am being literal. I had to like blow dust off of it. It is a testament to engineering, I guess, that I turned it on. Because when I turned it on, I was like, is this going to work? And it worked fine. And I'm playing Assassin's Creed 2. It's an interesting experience so far. I generally do like it. And I think I like it more than I did when I first tried playing it like 10 years ago. It's dated. It is like, it's interesting to play games that came out before 2010 and see how they did things like cutscenes and character models. And like, it's not even fully, it's not just a graphics thing. It's really not. It's just like the way it's paced is different. And it may be a hardware thing. It may be that you need certain breaks in place to allow, a map to load or something. But it makes the experience a little bit nostalgic in sometimes a good way, sometimes a bad way. But I'm definitely enjoying it so far. So I'll continue to update. We're entering the golden period of me playing video games, I think. So I might get some actual traction on this in spite of my usual, I started this game and then you don't hear about it for like weeks. I think this might be different. So that's really the only thing I have to mention. I don't know, Nerdbomber, I don't know if you had anything else to mention, if I just swooped in and stole the remainder of an update that you had, but
oh no,
I did.
My only other thing was that we started watching Welcome to Wrexham, but we're not really that far in, but it did inspire us to try to figure out what kind of Premier League fan we want to be. So more to come on that. But I'm excited to hear how far you get in Assassin's Creed 2.
We'll update. Techtic, that leaves us with you. What's been on your mind and your heart and your life lately?
So Nerdbomber and I took a pretty cool road trip to the northern lands of Toronto. And the one thing I wanted to make particular mention of is while we were exploring the city, we came across this really neat restaurant, Stormcrow Manor. And it is just like got all these little like nerdy themes, and like you can make a burger by rolling the dice. And literally it's a roll of the dice on what you get. It's how you pick your patty, it's how you pick your meat, it's how you pick your cheese, your bread, your toppings, your sauces.
Yeah, they literally they give you a Dungeons and Dragons-esque sheet of paper, and you basically roll through it to make your perfect hamburger. Or maybe gross hamburger, who knows?
And then they also have like various themed, like I got Appa's chicken sandwich from, so if you're not familiar who Appa is, he's from Kim's Convenience, which is a fantastic show. And it's just an overall good vibe, good time. So 10 out of 10 recommend if you ever take a trip to Canada to check out that restaurant.
Yeah, the only thing I was disappointed in, so Paul Sun-Hyung Lee, who you might know, he plays Appa in Kim's Convenience. He's going to be Uncle Iroh in the live action adaptation of Avatar. He is a huge geek. He had like a cameo in The Mandalorian,
yep.
I believe. And he's like a common frequenter of Stormcrow Manor, and I was really hoping we'd run into him, and it did not happen. Sad days.
Stormcrow looks super cool.
And then while we were on this road trip, we needed to recruit Illeagle to take care of our dog. So then when we came back, we then went to brunch together, the whole gang. So that was a good time.
I took care of the dog. The dog's fine, guys. I know you're all thinking, oh, God, he probably messed that dog up. No, everything was fine. He's a good boy. It was an easy job. And we went to brunch and had a good
10 out of
time.
10, good boy.
For sure.
Techtic, you also left out a big part. We saw the freaking Stanley Cup, and did you know there are 3 Stanley Cups? There's the Stanley Cup. Well, there's the original. I guess that doesn't really count, but there's the original. But then there's a Stanley Cup that's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And then there's a Stanley Cup that's the traveling one, and they're not one and the same. So if you guys know me, I'm a huge hockey nerd, love the Colorado Avalanche. They won, and when they took their team picture, they dented the cup, and we were like, where is the dent? And it's a different cup, guys. I mean, they'll probably fix the dent as well, but it's a different cup. So sad days.
That had to be deflating to not be able to find the dent. You're probably so excited to find the dent.
I was like, I'm going to touch the dent. But yeah. No.
Well, it's got to become friends with a Colorado Avalancher. I don't know if that's what they call them, but yeah. Cool. Shout out to the Great White North. Nerdbomber, you are administering the quiz that I will be losing in today. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And it is about IKEA. But before we get into it, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us the update on the standing.
Yeah, it's not great. Techtic 11-8, Nerdbomber 10-9, Illeagle 86. That's me. 8-15. Bad vibes over here. Okay. Let's see if I lose again. Sorry, Steven is 2-1. Sorry. Steven, I apologize. Steven's 2-1.
So we'll go ahead and we'll have Techtic go first to try to give Illeagle a little bit of an advantage, but this never seems to work in your favor anyway.
It's a weekly tradition, yeah, but it never works. Okay.
So we'll start at the very beginning. When was IKEA founded?
This was founded in 1957.
That's an incredible guess. I was thinking 50s. They do a lot of mid-century modern stuff. This was definitely post-World War II. But again, from a strategery standpoint, I'm going to go ahead and say 1800.
The strategery paid off. They were founded in 1943, and Illeagle gets his first point of the game.
What a terrible time to start a business. Let me just throw that out there. Good for them, I guess, that they got through. But like, man.
Well, I mean, they've definitely prospered because, they're all over the world at this point. They're a Swedish company, but they're all over the world at this point. In that vein, how many IKEA locations are open globally, or at least as of 2021?
This is, oh man, I like this question. Look, this is Sparta, 300.
301.
Why were you counting on your fingers to get there?
I was trying to pick the optimal time to use the +1.
Oh, I was like, wow, I didn't understand what was happening there. Unfortunately, Illeagle Techtic scooped you on that one. There are 445 locations, so that means we're at a tied game.
Hey, look, game respect game. That's a solid +1. That's what we do here.
So there's a lot of IKEA locations, but there is obviously only one of the largest in the world. It's based in Stockholm. How many square feet is the world's largest IKEA?
This is 57,000 square feet.
I think it's significantly more, but I'm going to be safe and say 57,001.
You probably could have, doubled, tripled, even gone 10 times because it covers a whopping 594,000 square feet. But I understand that you wanted to play it safe.
What you don't know is that all of Sweden is just one big IKEA. People don't know that. Stockholm, it's just IKEA. Okay, so it's tied up, right? Or no, am I ahead now?
No, you're now winning. Now. It's 2-1.
Wow,
you might actually win this one. We'll see. So, IKEA is not only known for their furniture, but they also sell Swedish treats, including meatballs, in their cafes. What percentage of all sales is comprised of food sales?
It's an interesting question. Fun fact, hopefully not to spoil a future question, but if my memory serves, they lose money on the meatballs. This is like a common fact that's said about IKEA.
They're actually, and this isn't spoiling anything, but I was reading that they actually on purpose try to make their meals and food offerings very affordable.
So people stay.
So people
Yeah.
stay and shop.
Right. Which leads me to believe it's probably, we're looking for a percentage here. It's probably relatively significant. I'm going to say 16%.
Is it percent revenue or percent like whether you bought?
Percent of all sales. How much
So
of
whether
that
you
is
bought
food?
a bed frame or like
So
a
say-
meatball, that's just one sale kind of thing.
I'm guessing in
It's
dollars.
independent of how
It's
much
in
it costs.
dollars. So like if they made $1 million, what percentage of that million was in food?
That's 1%. It's way lower than 16.
All right, so Techtic actually got that one. I thought it would be kind of a trick question to get you guys to both bust and keep things interesting, but he got it. Not on the nose, but 5% of all sales is food sales. So we're back to being a tied game.
Are we texting for this? It's tied up going into the final.
Because this isn't a tiebreaker.
the
This
fifth
is just the fifth question. So you do get an advantage here.
Well, there's no plus one-ing, so it's not much of an advantage, but okay.
So
Let's do it.
what is the sum of the latitude and longitude of the IKEA headquarters? So take the latitude and the longitude and add them together, and what is the sum of those numbers?
Am I allowed to know how latitude and longitude works? Like, is it like, does it go?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not is my answer. If you don't know, then you don't know.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
What is the sum of the latitude and longitude of the IKEA headquarters? Take the two numbers and you add them together. What is the sum?
172.
0.
Strategery is strategery. Illeagle gets this and wins his first trivia quiz in a very long time.
Is it on the equator?
Is latitude and longitude, does it go from negative to positive, or is it all positive numbers? Either way, I still would have done what I
was
did.
it the absolute
But-
value of the sum?
Well, they were both positive numbers. So the latitude is 52.1673 degrees north and 4.4819 degrees east, and that adds to 56.6492.
My plan was always to go very low because I wasn't sure if negative numbers were involved, and if they are, then 0 is basically just the middle. So I'm just kind of playing it safe, and if it's not, then I'm just hoping that you busted. So
And bust he did. So you get
I actually thought about it that time. I fumbled the ball late in the last however many quizzes, and finally, for the love of God, I did not this time. So that moves me to 9 and 15. I'm still behind both of you. Yeah. Wow, this is weird. I'm going to be hosting the quiz next week. I don't even know what to do. There's a meme of like, I don't know what to do with my hands. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Good times. Has been another fantastic episode. We thank you all for joining us. If you liked what you listened to, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review there. Hit us up on Twitter at the handles we already mentioned. Head over to Patreon, consider supporting the show, and keep on being the best yous you can be. With all that in mind, I will turn it over to Techtic to take us out with a tech tip.
Tudum.
Have a good week, everybody.